If you think I'm going to be word perfect on this, you're out of your mind. And don't worry about it, Tom. We'll just put it on cards like it's I Love Lucy. We've worked together a lot. So I actually know, I know what that means now. I know what it means. And so we were doing it. And in all honesty, you do it twice and then you get it down. So it goes pretty fast. And we were midway through like a day. We shot all that stuff in a day, all the stuff on the thing.
At 69, Tom Hanks is finally opening up, and the story around Rob Reiner has people talking loud. Born Thomas Jeffrey Hanks on July 9, 1956 in Concord, California, Tom didn't grow up in some picture-perfect setup. His childhood was full of constant moves and family shakeups after his parents divorced, with his father mostly holding things down. That early chaos pushed him to grow up fast and stay sharp, always watching, always learning. Those rough early years wired him differently. Tom picked up a deep awareness of how people move, react, and hide their emotions, noticing the tiny details most folks miss. That sensitivity became his secret weapon on screen. Even without stability, he built adaptability and real empathy, traits that later shaped not just his acting style, but the clean, trustworthy image the public connects with him to this day. Acting didn't hit his radar until college, when he dove into theater and lost himself in stage work. After stepping away from school, he chased acting full-time, grinding through small TV roles that showed off his natural comedy and easy charm. Then came the early 1980s, when Bosom Buddies flipped the switch. His bold physical comedy, quick timing, and warmth made him impossible to ignore, turning him from just another actor into a real standout. At this point, Tom Hanks was mostly seen as the funny guy, the charming comic face everyone liked but didn't fully take seriously yet. He was smooth, likable, and hilarious, but nobody was calling him a heavyweight dramatic force. Then the mid to late 1980s hit, and things shifted fast. Movies like Splash, Big, and A League of Their Own made it clear he wasn't just jokes and smiles anymore. Behind that humor was real emotional depth. Big especially cracked things wide open. Tom showed he could play innocence and wonder without turning it corny, pulling off something rare and powerful. That performance earned him his first Academy Award nomination and proved he could make even the wildest story feel real, grounded, and deeply human. The 1990s locked his status in stone. Tom Hanks didn't just succeed, he dominated. He pulled off the unbelievable by winning back-to-back Best Actor Oscars for Philadelphia in 1993 and Forrest Gump in 1994. In Philadelphia, he gave a brave, compassionate performance as a man living with AIDS during a time when fear and stigma were everywhere, shifting minds through dignity and empathy. Then came Forrest Gump, a role that became legendary. His calm, simple delivery hid deep emotional truth, turning the movie into a full-blown cultural takeover. From that point on, Hanks stayed locked in the roles centered on humanity, moral strength, and emotional survival. In Saving Private Ryan, Tom Hanks stepped into the role of a quiet leader, carrying the heavy mental weight of war, and he made it hit hard. His performance wasn't loud or flashy, it was controlled, tense, and real, showing how leadership can slowly grind someone down from the inside. Then came Castaway, where he did something wild. He carried almost the entire movie solo, using pure physical grit and tiny facial shifts to sell loneliness, survival, and losing touch with the world. His long-running collaborations with director Steven Spielberg pushed his reputation even higher. From Saving Private Ryan to Catch Me If You Can, The Terminal, and Bridge of Spies, Tom blended brains, warmth, and serious gravity like few actors ever could. He showed he could move smoothly between intensity and heart, making every role feel lived in and believable. Beyond live action, Tom Hanks stamped history with his voice. As Woody in Pixar's Toy Story franchise, he turned an animated cowboy into something way deeper than expected. His voice gave Woody loyalty, growth, and emotional maturity, connecting with kids and adults at the same time. That role proved his storytelling power crosses age, format, and generation without missing a beat. Behind the scenes, Hanks stayed locked in. As a producer, director, and writer, he helped bring powerful historical stories to life with Band of Brothers, The Pacific, and Masters of the Air. These projects spotlight everyday people facing extreme moments, showing his deep respect for real history and real sacrifice. Long before becoming one of the most trusted faces in American entertainment, his first real breakthrough happened on TV, where audiences caught on to his sharp timing, smooth.
Hey, well, here's the deal. The other movies, they make a big deal about action, you know. All right, start it up. Get ready, everybody. We're rolling. We're rolling. Are we rolling? We're rolling. Rolling. We are rolling, people. Everybody, stand by.
Tom Hanks first grabbed the spotlight as a co-lead on the ABC sitcom Bosom Buddies from 1980 to 1982, and it was a game changer. That role showed off his sharp comedic instincts while quietly teasing the intelligence and depth that would later define his entire career. Week after week, audiences locked in with his ability to be awkward, funny, and genuinely human all at once, turning the show into a launchpad that pushed him from unknown talent to a recognizable face nationwide. As his momentum picked up, his presence became so trusted that Saturday Night Live kept calling him back. Hosting a massive 10 times, he joined a rare group of performers who could command both the studio and millions watching at home. Every appearance proved his range, whether he was landing sharp jokes, delivering sincere moments, or pulling off unexpected bits that still get talked about today. But Tom didn't stop in front of the camera. Behind the scenes, he quietly changed television by launching his own production company, Playtone. Through Playtone, he pushed TV storytelling to a whole new level, bringing cinematic quality and emotional weight to the small screen. Projects like From the Earth to the Moon in 1998, the World War II epic Band of Brothers, the powerful historical series John Adams in 2008, and its haunting companion, The Pacific, showed his deep respect for history and real lives. He kept that energy going with bold projects like the political drama Game Change in 2012 and the intimate, character-driven Olive Kitteridge in 2015. Every production carried his signature focus on meaning, authenticity, and emotional truth, earning major awards and serious respect across the industry. Never the type to stay stuck in one lane, Tom Hanks eventually took his talent straight to Broadway, and it turned heads fast. In 2013, he made his official theater debut in Nora Ephron's Lucky Guy, proving his presence wasn't just for cameras and close-ups. Night after night, critics and audiences saw that same magnetic pull work just as strong on a live stage, with his no second take and nowhere to hide. That performance earned him a Tony Award nomination for Best Actor in a Play, locking in his status as a rare all-around artist. Television, film, theater, Tom kept winning in every space. What really hit people was the sincerity he brought to the role, showing once again that his talent runs deeper than hype and awards. Away from the spotlight, Tom Hanks' personal life unfolded much more quietly, moving alongside his rising career instead of competing with it. His relationships reflected the same emotional depth and grounded energy people admire on screen. Early on, he married American actress Samantha Lewis, born Susan Jane Dillingham in 1978, back when both were still chasing opportunity and stability. They met while studying theater, connecting over shared dreams, tight budgets, and the uncertainty of young adulthood. Together, they built a family while Tom was still climbing, balancing ambition with real-life responsibility. The marriage brought 2 children, including their son, Colin Hanks, who grew up watching his father rise step by step. Seeing that journey firsthand later inspired Colin to carve out his own path in acting, carrying forward the family's creative legacy in his own way. Colin Hanks later carved out his own lane, building a solid career in film and television without leaning on his last name. He earned respect on his own terms, proving his talent stood strong without comparisons. Their daughter, Elizabeth Ann Hanks, born in 1982, grew up mostly outside the spotlight. While she's occasionally shared thoughtful reflections about her upbringing through writing and commentary, she's kept a much quieter public profile overall. As the years moved on, the marriage between Tom Hanks and Samantha Lewis slowly began to crack. His career exploded in the 1980s, bringing non-stop work, long separations, and constant travel. Fame came fast, and the pressure that followed made balancing home life harder and harder to manage. In 1987, the couple divorced,
ending a marriage that had shaped Tom's early adult years. Later on, Hanks spoke honestly about the pain tied to that split, admitting that immaturity, emotional distance, and career pressure all played a role. That chapter left a deep mark on him, influencing how he viewed responsibility, growth, and long-term commitment. Tragedy struck years later when Samantha Lewis battled bone cancer and passed away in 2002 at just 49 years old. Her death hit hard, especially for their children, and reopened memories of everything they had once built together. Tom has always spoken about her with care and respect, honoring her role as the mother of his first 2 children and as a meaningful part of his life.
While still married to Lewis, Tom met actress Rita Wilson in 1981 on the set of Bosom Buddies. At the time, their connection was friendly and professional, but that early meeting would later carry far more weight than anyone realized. At first, neither Tom Hanks nor Rita Wilson chased anything romantic, but the connection never fully faded. It stayed in the background until they reunited in 1985 while working on the film Volunteers, and that's when things shifted. What grew between them wasn't some fast spark. It was built on mutual respect, shared humor, and real emotional alignment. Rita Wilson, who was of Greek and Bulgarian descent, was raised in the Greek Orthodox Church, a faith that deeply shaped her identity. Before marrying her, Tom made a personal choice to surprise many. He converted to Greek Orthodoxy, not for show or symbolism, but as a genuine spiritual commitment. He later spoke openly about his beliefs, describing church as a place for reflection, not rigid answers. For Tom, faith became a space to sit with life's contradictions, joy and pain, fairness and injustice, all existing at the same time. He's described belief as a mystery rather than a rule book, one that encourages humility, empathy, and self-examination instead of certainty. Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson married in 1988, starting a partnership that has lasted decades in an industry known for broken relationships. Their marriage is often called one of Hollywood's strongest, built on loyalty, admiration, and a shared sense of humor that keeps things grounded. Rita has long been seen as Tom's emotional anchor, offering balance as his career reached massive heights. In return, Tom has consistently credited her with helping him grow into a better partner, a stronger father, and a more thoughtful human being. Together, Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson raised 2 sons, each walking very different paths. Their eldest, Chester Chet Hanks, stepped into music and acting, building a public persona that has often pulled heavy media attention. He dropped a rap song back in 2011 and later landed recurring roles on TV shows like Empire and Shameless, keeping his name in constant rotation. Chet's journey hasn't been smooth or simple. It's been filled with ambition, public pressure, and personal challenges along the way. Through it all, Tom and Rita have stood firm in support, speaking openly about family loyalty, accountability, and the power of growth through hard moments. Their younger son, Truman Theodore Hanks, born in 1995, took a much quieter route. He stayed mostly behind the scenes, focusing on filmmaking rather than the spotlight. One notable exception came in A Man Called Otto in 2022, when Truman played the younger version of his father's character. It was subtle, symbolic, and spoke volumes about shared creative DNA. That moment reflected something deeper, a quiet continuation of storytelling passed from one generation to the next through art, not noise or hype. It showed how creativity runs through the family without needing constant attention. Now, at this stage of life and career, Tom Hanks speaks with calm honesty shaped by decades of experience. When reflecting on the people who helped shape modern Hollywood storytelling, he doesn't pause when Rob Reiner's name comes up. As Hanks himself has said, Rob is one of those rare figures who understands that entertainment is not about ego, it's about empathy. Tom Hanks makes one thing clear: if you don't care about the people on screen, the audience never will. For him, that belief sits right at the center of why Rob Reiner's films still hit across generations, long after trends, hype, and box office numbers. Explains that Reiner's real strength comes from respect. Respect for actors, respect for writers, and respect for the story itself. Reiner says listens, and it sounds simple, but it's rare. He listens to the script, he listens to the cast, and he listens to what the story needs. When you work with someone like that, Hank says, you
You feel protected.
It means you're rolling, and then he's standing right next to you, and he says, okay, go ahead. And then you do it. And maybe he'll say, just take that again. Just do it one more time. And then you do it. He says, all right, that's enough of that.
That sense of safety matters. Reiner creates an environment where creative risks don't feel dangerous. Performers are pushed to explore vulnerability without fear of being judged, rushed, or shut down. That kind of space doesn't happen by accident, Hanks adds. It comes from someone who understands life on both sides of the camera. Reflecting on Reiner's legacy, Hanks points to the emotional honesty running through his films. Rob never chases cynicism, Hanks says. Whether the story is funny, romantic, or dramatic, there's always a belief in people trying to do the right thing. Hanks believes that sincerity is exactly why audiences trust Reiner. When you sit down to watch one of his movies, you know you're not being manipulated, you're being invited in. He also acknowledges how much courage it takes to stick to that philosophy in a changing industry, especially when Hollywood keeps rewarding noise over substance. As the industry kept getting louder and faster, Tom Hanks noticed something unsettling. Big emotions were being replaced by big noise, and quiet truth was getting drowned out. That's why he keeps circling back to filmmakers like Rob Reiner, people who never forgot that stories are about humans first, not algorithms or headlines. Hanks has said that real impact doesn't come from shock value. It comes from moments that feel earned, a look, a pause, a line that lands because it's honest, not because it's forced. He believes Reiner understands that audiences are smarter than the industry gives them credit for, and that emotional intelligence lasts longer than any trend. In private conversations, Hanks has pointed out that some of the most powerful scenes in Reiner's films don't involve explosions or big speeches. They're built on listening, restraint, and trust. Trust that the audience will lean in instead of needing to be dragged along. That philosophy shaped how Hanks approached his own work over the years. He became more selective, more intentional, choosing projects that reflected decency, complexity, and moral weight. Not because it was safe, but because it was harder to do right. Hanks has also hinted that this approach sometimes puts you at odds with the industry machine. Studios want fast returns, instant buzz, and viral moments, but stories rooted in empathy take patience, and patience isn't always rewarded right away. Still, Hanks stands by it. He believes that when you treat audiences with respect, they feel it. And when filmmakers lead with empathy instead of ego, the work has a longer life than any opening weekend. For Hanks, that's the real legacy. Not just awards and numbers, but stories that people carry with them long after the screen goes dark. As Tom Hanks looks ahead, he doesn't talk like someone chasing the next headline or trying to stay relevant. Instead, his focus stays locked on purpose. He's spoken about slowing down, not stepping away, but choosing work that actually means something rather than filling space. Hanks has admitted that legacy isn't built overnight. It's built in how you treat people, how you show up on set, and how you protect the heart of a story when pressure starts creeping in. He believes audiences can feel intention even when they can't explain it. Behind closed doors, Hanks has pushed for stories that center decency without being naive. He's not interested in perfect heroes or fake optimism. What matters to him are flawed people trying to do the right thing when it's uncomfortable or costly. He's also been open about mentoring younger actors and creators, not by lecturing, but by example, showing that longevity comes from discipline, humility, and knowing when to listen instead of talk. In an industry obsessed with reinvention, Hanks believes consistency is the real rebellion. Showing up grounded, prepared, and honest year after year is harder than chasing trends. That mindset, he says, is what separates moments from careers. Even now, with nothing left to prove, Hanks continues to move carefully. Every role, every project, every collaboration reflects intention, not ego, not noise, not shock. For Tom Hanks, the goal was never to be the loudest voice in the room. It was the one people trusted. And decades later, that trust is still his most powerful currency.
With decades behind him, Tom Hanks now speaks less about ambition and more about responsibility. He said that storytelling carries weight, especially when millions are listening. Every project becomes a chance to reflect something honest about people, not just entertain them for 2 hours. Hanks believes culture is shaped quietly, not loudly. The stories that last aren't the ones that scream the most, but the ones that slip under your skin and stay there. That belief has guided how he chooses roles, collaborators, and even when to step away. He's also talked about gratitude, not in a polished, public way, but with grounded awareness. Gratitude for timing, for mentors, for audiences who stuck around long enough to care. He understands how rare that connection really is. When asked about success, Hanks often shifts the conversation back to craft. Learning, refining, and respecting the process never stops. He doesn't see mastery as a destination, but as a daily discipline that demands patience and humility. There's also acceptance now. Acceptance that not every story needs to be told by him, and not every moment needs his voice. Knowing when to step back, he says, is just as important as knowing when to step forward. In a world chasing speed and spectacle, Hanks remains steady, calm, intentional, and rooted in empathy. That steadiness has become part of his identity, just as recognizable as any role he's ever played. For Tom Hanks, the final lesson is simple but heavy. Stories matter because people matter, and as long as he's creating, that belief will stay at the center of everything he touches. At this point, Tom Hanks understands something many never do. Influence isn't about control, it's about example. He knows people watch how you move when no one is forcing applause, and that quiet consistency speaks louder than any headline. Hanks has reflected on how storytelling has changed, especially with speed replacing patience. He doesn't fight the change, but he doesn't surrender to it either. Instead, he focuses on clarity, making sure the heart of a story never gets lost in the rush. He said that the best stories don't tell audiences what to think. They invite them to feel, to question, and to recognize themselves somewhere on screen. That's the kind of connection he still chases, even now. There's also an awareness of time. Not fear, not urgency, but respect. Hanks chooses projects knowing each one carries weight, knowing there are fewer chances to get it right, not because of age, but because intention matters more than volume. He's talked about legacy in the most grounded way possible. Not statues, not titles, but the hope that people felt seen, understood, or less alone because of something he helped create. Even off camera, those who've worked with him describe the same thing: calm leadership, real listening, and zero need to dominate a room. He creates space, and that space allows others to do their best work. In the end, Tom Hanks doesn't frame his career as a rise or a peak. He sees it as a long conversation with the audience, built on trust over time. And as long as that trust remains, his voice doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be honest. As the conversation around legacy continues, Tom Hanks keeps circling back to accountability. He believes that being admired isn't a reward, it's a responsibility. When people trust you, every choice matters more. Hanks has said that fame can blur judgment if you let it. That's why he stays grounded in routine, preparation, and surrounding himself with people who aren't impressed by status. That balance, he believes, protects both the work and the person behind it. He's also acknowledged that mistakes are unavoidable. What matters is how you own them, learn from them, and move forward without pretending they never happened. Growth, in his eyes, comes from honesty, not image management.
Is it going to cut together? Is it going to matter? Is it going to make any sense? And Bob, well, that's the thing about making movies, Tom. It's a minefield. It's just a fucking minefield. We don't know if we're sowing the seeds of our own destruction or not. Oh, I'll show you. I showed up that day and we all went there. Is there any trick to it? Yeah, here's the trick. Go there. And if that means you got to put yourself through some sort of psychological hell.
In private moments, Hanks has expressed concern about how easily empathy gets lost in public spaces. He sees storytelling as a counterweight, a way to slow people down and remind them of shared humanity. That's why he continues to support projects that highlight ordinary people facing extraordinary pressure. Not heroes without flaws, but individuals making imperfect choices under real circumstances. Hanks doesn't believe art should preach. He believes it should reveal character, reveal consequence, and reveal truth without shouting. Even now, he measures success differently, not by how big a project gets, but by how honestly it was made and how respectfully people were treated along the way. For Tom Hanks, the work is still about service to the story, the audience, and the moment. And that mindset, more than anything else, explains why his influence hasn't faded. It's grown stronger with time. By now, Tom Hanks sees clearly how quickly admiration can flip into expectation.
He said that once people project goodness onto you, they expect perfection, and that's a trap. He's never claimed to be flawless, only committed to doing better when it counts. Hanks has talked about pressure showing up in subtle ways. Not scandal, not chaos, but the quiet weight of always being watched. That's why he values privacy more than praise, and why he keeps his circle tight and honest. He's also been blunt about fame not being a teacher. Experience is. Long hours, hard conversations, failed ideas, and moments of doubt shaped him far more than applause ever could. When younger creators ask for advice, Hanks doesn't hand out shortcuts. He talks about patience, accountability, and earning trust one project at a time. He warns that attention fades fast, but reputation sticks. He's especially firm on one point. Kindness isn't branding, it's behavior. The way you treat crew members, collaborators, and strangers matters more than any performance. Looking back, Hanks doesn't frame his career as luck or destiny. He sees it as a long series of choices, some right, some wrong, all revealing. Each one taught him something about power, humility, and consequence. What keeps him steady now is clarity, knowing who he is, what he stands for, and what he won't trade away for relevance. In the end, Tom Hanks believes respect is earned daily, not inherited, and that belief keeps him grounded, even as the noise keeps getting louder. At this stage, Tom Hanks doesn't chase validation anymore. He understands that applause is temporary, but integrity sticks around. That shift changed how he views success, slowing everything down and sharpening his focus. He's spoken about learning when to say no, not out of fear, but out of respect for the craft. Every role carries weight, and saying yes too easily can dilute the meaning behind the work. Tom has also acknowledged that storytelling carries consequences. What you normalize, what you excuse, what you glorify, it all lands somewhere. That awareness guides his decisions more than trends or box office predictions ever could. There's a calm confidence now, not ego, but assurance. He trusts his instincts because they were shaped by decades of listening, failing, and learning. He's also honest about fear still existing. Not fear of failure, but fear of dishonesty. Fear of doing work that doesn't reflect who he is anymore. That's why collaboration matters so much to him. He values teams built on trust, not power. Spaces where people feel heard and respected.
And you know what happened the day before that? Your dog got hit by it. Every tragedy has happened to you. It's pride. Show up and just be correct. Isn't it fun to be in love? And the other days where you got to go and you have to go to a place that's incredibly dark and stormy and crazy. And all you did last night was laugh like crazy at the karaoke bar with the rest of the guys in the crew and said, guys, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I love to sing another Elvis song, but I have to weep and cry at 8 o'clock in the morning. It's a minefield, Conan. It's a fucking minefield.
Even as the industry keeps evolving, Hanks remains anchored. He adapts without losing his core. Technology may change, platforms may shift, but human truth stays the same. For Tom Hanks, that truth is the compass. As long as he follows it, the work stays meaningful. And meaning, in the end, is the only thing he's still chasing. With everything he's seen, Tom Hanks now views longevity as a discipline, not a gift. Staying relevant isn't about staying visible, it's about staying honest. That belief has guided him through every phase of his career. He's reflected on how easy it is to lose yourself when success stacks up. Praise can blur boundaries, and expectations can quietly rewrite who you think you're supposed to be. Hanks learned to resist that pull by staying rooted in routine and accountability. He believes the best work comes from curiosity, from asking questions instead of pretending to have answers. That mindset keeps the craft alive and prevents complacency from setting in. There's also a deeper respect now for silence. Hanks understands that not every moment needs commentary. Sometimes the most powerful move is restraint, letting the work speak instead of the voice behind it. He's spoken about choosing impact over volume. Fewer projects, stronger intention. That shift isn't about slowing down, it's about sharpening focus. In conversations about the future, Hanks rarely talks about himself. He talks about audiences, about trust, about the responsibility of not wasting people's time or emotions. He believes storytelling should leave people feeling considered, not manipulated, challenged, not overwhelmed. That philosophy has become his signature, calm, thoughtful, and grounded. For Tom Hanks, the real achievement isn't staying on top, it's staying true. And that, he believes, is the hardest part of all. Tom Hanks says Rob always chose clarity, even as the industry got louder and faster. In a time ruled by spectacle and speed, Rob Reiner's focus on character-driven storytelling stands out more than ever. He reminds us that a well-told story can hit just as hard as any special effect. That's a lesson I've carried my entire career, Hanks notes, and he means it. Now, with hindsight on his side, Hanks talks about Reiner as more than just a filmmaker. He calls him a standard bearer. Rob set a bar, Hanks says, not only for movies, but for how people should be treated while making them. That mindset, that respect, is what separates lasting work from forgettable noise. For Hanks, this truth cuts deep. Success rises and falls, trends come and go, and applause fades fast. But integrity sticks. It shapes reputations, relationships, and legacies long after the cameras stop rolling. Rob Reiner proved you don't have to trade character for success. You don't have to lose empathy to win. And in an industry that often pushes shortcuts, that lesson still matters more than ever. If this story hits you, don't keep it to yourself. Like the video, subscribe for more deep dives like this, share it with someone who loves real storytelling, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. Let us know what you think makes a legacy last.